Hey guys, Lonnie, real alcoholic. Okay, we're gonna have to break this down into two segments also, man. I know it seems like it's taken a long, long time to get through this. Man, how did Dr. Bob and them do this in 6 or 7 hours, right? Or in one day? Oh, it's taken forever to get through this. Well, just understand that I am explaining a whole lot to you guys, for the sake of you guys reviewing, so that when you take a sponsee through the steps, it will come natural. Um, and I can promise you, the more we do this, the more we do it in our own lives, the more we do it with sponsees, we can get to these questions. We can get to these key points. We can get through these columns with little struggle, with hardly little effort. Okay, so now about sex. All right. Many of us needed an overhauling there. All right. So they're going to tell us that we need an overhauling on some sex. We looked at our anger and our resentments. We did an inventory on that. We did our inventory on fear. Now we're going to do an inventory on sex. This three-part inventory we're doing, we are hitting the top three character defects that pretty much damage and control most of us, okay? Our resentments, our fear, and our sexual behaviors. Now, I told a sponsor one time, I said, well, man, I said, if we're hitting the top three, do you think I need to focus, do an inventory on the rest of them? Like, should I do an inventory on all my pride issues? Should I do an inventory on all my jealousy issues? On all my expectations or self delusion issues? And my sponsor said, whoa, 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 whoa. He said, don't overcomplicate this thing, man. We can if we want. We got the basic idea, we got the basic format going here. But I think we see that in all these inventories and in all of these situations, it pretty much boils down to my needs or my instincts not getting met. I get fearful and I get demanding. I jump into a character defect. So we're going to try to keep this sex inventory simple. Okay, here's talking about we can get way off track. All right. We're going to find human opinions that go to the extreme. Some people, they're just as loose about sex. They're just willy nilly. Doesn't matter. It's just purely a physical act, purely a physical release. Other people are pretty much more. How can we say, we can go to the extreme of being so rigid that sex is only for producing children, right? So we can go from one extreme to the other. And if somebody does, Big Book says, we want to stay out of this controversy. All right. Big point there. We stay out of this controversy. As a sponsor, I am not guiding you towards chastity as far as being a monk, being a nun, complete abstinence. And I'm also not going to encourage any willy-nilly free will all the time, every time, anywhere, anybody. That's between the person, okay? My job is to help a person go through this inventory, examine their own sexual behaviors, and hopefully come up with a good plan for the future. Okay, so we stay out of this controversy. We really do. Okay, we all have sex problems. So what can we do about them? All right, well, we're going to review our own conduct over the past years. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, inconsiderate? Once again, where were our character defects involved in our sex conduct? All right. Now, our sex conduct, guys, we're staying out of the controversy. This is why I can sponsor females. I don't talk about sexual preferences. I don't talk about fetishes. I don't talk about sexual positions. I don't talk about foreplay. That is each and every person's idea. That is each and every person's own desire. I cannot tell you, and I will not tell you what is right or what it wrongs or what is wrong when it comes to the actual act of sex. Okay? What we are looking at is we are looking at our selfishness, our dishonesty, and our inconsideration. We are looking at these internal things that drive us, all right, leading up to, during, and after our sexual acts. Okay? So we are not judging, and your particular choice of a sexual act, that is between you and God. And Alcoholics Anonymous will stay out of that. What we're looking for is our thinking, our attitudes, our behaviors in our sex conducts. Okay, so once again, where had we been selfish, dishonest, inconsiderate? Who did we hurt? Did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, bitterness? Where were we at fault? What should we have done better or done instead? Now, here's a big one. This is what we're looking for. This whole sex inventory is geared for us to look at some mistakes in the past, look at some things that did not turn out too well, and what should we have done instead? We got this all down on paper and looked at it. Okay, in this way, we're going to try to shape a sane and sound idea for our future sex life. And we're going to ask God to help us mold these ideas and help us live up to them. We're going to make a plan for the future. Our sex powers are God-given. This is an instinct. This is a natural, God-given instinct. So whatever our ideals turn out to be after this inventory, we have to be willing, once again. We may not be perfect. We may slip. But we have to be willing to make amends where we have done harm, if we've harmed anybody, provided we do not still bring about more harm. In other words, we treat sex as we would any other problem. In meditation, we ask God what we should do about each specific matter. Now, when we do this sex inventory, we're going to have some people that we have harmed. We're going to get with our sponsors in the steps 8 and 9, and we are going to decide if, what, how, and when these amends will be made, as long as nobody else is going to get hurt. Okay, so we're going to pray. We're going to ask God in each specific matter about these amends, and the right answer will come if we want it. So God alone can judge our sex situation. We want to reiterate. God alone can judge. Now, counsel, okay? Our counsel with other persons is often desirable, but we let God be the final judge. We realize that some people are as fanatical about sex as others are loose. So we avoid hysterical thinking or advice. Okay. These other persons and this counsel, just like everything else in life, I couldn't be taught, right? I just for somehow automatically thought I knew it. I knew what was best. I knew what was on God's mind. I knew what was on your mind. I knew that if the world would only behave, I knew that if my parents would only do this, I knew that if this person would only do that, I knew. You see, I was in that controlling mode, right? And I knew, and I really didn't. I was really running off of my own thinking, my own assumptions. I was uneducated, even in the areas of sex. Once again, just because it came to my mind, just because I had a thought about this topic, I just automatically assumed that I was right about this topic. Whatever my thought, whatever my beliefs were, well, shit, I know what I'm doing, right? Well, I had to kind of abandon that idea and I started taking some counsel from other people. I started investigating, I started reading some material. Yeah, even on sex, man, there was a lot to learn that I did not know. So, so counsel with other people is often desirable. Gives us something to contemplate, gives us something to think about. Okay, and not just assume that my word is the last word. That's what it told us in We Agnostics. We assumed that our word was the last word. That was it. It was final. And come to find out, we're going to let God be the judge. So, so we're going to investigate this thing. Okay, so we got our idea, right? After we do this inventory, and I'm going to do a mock inventory with y'all in the next session. But after we do this inventory, suppose we fall short of the chosen idea. Okay, so we're going to make an idea. We're going to ask God to give us the strength to fulfill this better plan we've made. If we fall short, does that mean we'll get drunk? Well, if we hurt somebody, right, and we continue to harm others, we will get drunk. Alcoholics Anonymous tells us that clearly. Okay? If we were weak, if we could not fulfill this idea that we made in this sex inventory, and we are sorry, and we ask God to help us, lead us into better things, we'll be forgiven, and we'll have learned our lesson. So, if we continue to harm others after we do this inventory, it's inevitable. We will get drunk. And like I always say, if we don't get drunk, we'll get to the point of wanting to off ourselves. We just get that miserable when we fail to do our inventories, when we fail to seek God's will, when we fail to consider another person, when we fail to do these steps, we stay miserable, and either we will get drunk or we will try to off ourselves. It's just that simple, guys. And even with this sex inventory, it is that important. They would not have put it in this book if our sexual behaviors were not that important. Okay, to sum up about sex. So we're going to pray for this right idea as we're going through this inventory. If we get into a questionable situation, all right, man, we made our inventory, and all of a sudden I'm going on a date and something feels, I don't know, questionable. Man, we're going to pray. We're going to ask for guidance, for sanity, and the strength to do the right thing. Now, if sex is very troublesome, okay, some of us have some very powerful lustful desires, right? If sex is very troublesome, we're going to help others. Because in getting out of myself and talking with a newcomer, in being with a suffering alcoholic, I can promise you I am no worried longer about my little sexual feeling I was having 2 hours ago. So if sex is very troublesome, we will focus on what can I do for the next man. And that gets us out of ourselves. It says it quiets that imperious urge, right? I don't want to be vulgar, but it takes us out of ourselves and it quiets that imperious urge, that desire we have, that longing we have. If we can't stick to our sex idea, then we throw ourselves into working with newcomers, being of service at the AA home group, at the clubhouse, our next door neighbors, whatever it is to help others, mainly working with other alcoholics. Okay, we're going to stop there, and here are some promises for after our inventories. But that's just a brief summary of what we are about to do, and we'll keep this short. On the next session, like I said, I will give a mock made up way of actually doing this inventory and some things that that was brought out to me that I had to look at concerning my sexual conduct. And we made a 3 years 9 months ago, almost 3 years 10 months now. Congratulations to me, guys. Thank you. But I did. I made an idea that over 3.5 years ago for my sex life for the future. And by the grace of God, I have maintained, man. I have upheld that idea. And I can tell you, man, I have eliminated a lot of drama out of my life. I can tell you, I am peaceful and content, whether I'm alone or if I'm one-on-one with somebody, or if I'm in a group of people out having dinner. This sexual idea that I made has guided me in those sexual instinctual feelings. It has guided me in my longing for relationships. It has guided me this long to where how can I put it simply? I'm not relapsing over some crazy ass woman, right? I'm not relapsing because my sexual behaviors is causing drama in my life. I heard this one saying, guys, and I'm going to leave y'all with this. When I stop acting crazy, I stopped attracting crazy. Let's think on that. All right, man. We're going to see y'all next time. Thanks. Take it easy.